Hi YouTube, it's time for my very first comic book reviews, and today I'm gonna review two comic books, two of my favorites, so it's not as much as a review as it is a recommendation. And as you probably have noticed, we're in this kind of weird viewing mode. I'm very small and there's some graphics going on, and the reason for it is simple. Instead of me just showing the comic books like this, I have a digital version of both comic books here on my site, so I can talk about the comic books and I can show you them at the same time. I prefer to read comic books like the original way, like having the actual comic book and read it like this. It's easier to enjoy the art when you're reading a comic book like this, because the art is a little bit nicer than the digital version. But I also read comic books the digital way, so I'm not against it. I just prefer to own the comic book and read it like this. So starting off with Amulet. This is a comic book about two kids and their mother who, after their father died, leave for this big house to get a new start. When they are there, they discover a secret universe down in the basement. So they walk down the basement and they come to this alternate universe. Actually, their mother is kidnapped and brought there, and they follow after. And it shows that one of the kids is like the chosen one, and so she must go out on this adventure to save the world that they come to. And most people are a little bit scared of the childish look of the comic book. It looks like a mix between a Japanese comic, a manga, and an American comic. When you read it, it looks maybe like a child book, but it's a really exciting adventure. It's 6 volumes in total. But the first volume is like a setup to things to come. But it's still a great first volume. It's hard to describe it without spoiling too much. It also reminds me a bit of playing a Final Fantasy game. It's like this adventure game where the character travels around a new world, visiting new cities, and so the adventure takes the main character to the different places, and it never stops and it's never boring. It just keeps continue going, and that makes for a comic book that it's constant in developing the characters and the story. I really like Amulet, and because I don't want to spoil anything, I've chosen only to show you a few pages from the prologue here. If you like adventure and if you like fantasy, I absolutely recommend Amulet. It's a great comic book. I've enjoyed it a lot, so read it and love it. So next up is probably my favorite comic book of all time. It's Locke and Key. It's written by Joe Hill, and he's Stephen King's son, but he's taken this alias because he doesn't want to be known because of his father. And Locke and Key is so amazing. It's hard to talk too much about the story without spoiling anything. Just as in Amulet, which I talked about earlier, it's about this family that moves to a house after a tragic event, and the house seemed to have some kind of secrets, and just as the title refers to, they find these different keys that has different abilities, and they're gonna need all these keys to defeat the dark secret that is bound to the house and bound to their family history. Locke and Key really feels like the greatest TV show that never was filmed but became a comic book instead, and I don't mind. I think Locke and Key is a fantastic read. There are 6 volumes of Locke and Key, so it's finished. So you don't have to sit and wait. So you don't have to sit and wait for the last one, which I had, and it was really frustrating because I wanted to see how it ended. I think it's the perfect mix of like horror and drama. It's very realistic with its portraits in the character, but the horror aspect of it has this kind of supernatural twist to it. I think it's so exciting, and it's a real page turner. When you pick it up and read, you just want to continue reading, so And I also really like the art. I've become quite a fan of Gabriel Rodriguez, and I really like his kind of realistic but still dark and gritty style. Lock and Key is the most exciting comic book I've ever read. It's scary, it's exciting, it tries some new stuff in terms of telling a story, and just as every other of my favorite comic books, it has some really great characters. You really care for the characters and you want them to survive. So that's it guys, 2 comic books which I really love. I recommend them very much. If you get a chance to pick up Lock and Key or Amulet, I think you should. I think you should read them, and if you read them or if you have read them, let me know what you think in a comment. I really appreciate you guys watching my videos, and let me know what you thought of this very first comic book review. Alright guys, thanks for watching. I see you again soon. Bye.